Hi, lower school families. It is Thanksgiving, or we're getting ready to go off on Thanksgiving as we record this. And I wish you and your family a blessed Thanksgiving. I wanted you the opportunity to hear from Dr. Carrie Abood, our lower school principal, about what she's seeing so far and what she's thankful for. So, hi, Carrie.
Hi.
It's great to have you here.
Thank you.
And would you just share with us a little bit of what you have just really loved seeing this fall in the lower school?
Yeah, absolutely. And one of the things I've tried to do this year is to capture some of the highlights that I'm seeing as we go along
Right.
this school year. So I've sent a highlights recap for September and October, and then I'll have one again right
Yeah.
before we break for Christmas break for November, December.
Sure.
So I've been trying to capture those highlights along the way because it's a wonderful opportunity for me to reflect as principal and leader of the lower school of what I am seeing in real time and really to be thankful for those things. I would say three things that I've loved seeing this fall. Our students have really embraced our compassionate community core value theme this year through different things that we've done in chapel, our kindness initiatives. Even some of our teachers have taken compassionate community and really challenged us to think about it through different content areas. So I can speak to that maybe in a little bit as we talk about spiritual development.
Sure.
I've really enjoyed seeing our fifth graders take different leadership initiatives from, they're very active in so much of our community life in the lower school, but they're also pressing into other areas that as they're getting older and they have more opportunities. So our athletic teams are full of fifth graders or fifth graders who want to be on our athletic teams. They are taking leadership initiatives through things like Operation Christmas Child and collecting shoeboxes for that. And then they are looking for ways to lead through a new initiative that we're hoping to start, very soon with our student representatives, which is a lower school version of student council.
Gotcha.
So that's been really fun.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Something I've loved seeing. And then, for me, looking back on the fall, just the program highlights of who we are as a school, what we have done year after year. Those highlights are they're always there, but it's just really fun to reflect on them. So things like our speech meet opportunity where first graders through fifth graders all memorize a speech. They share it in class, and then our top leaders or our winners of the classroom speech meet get to share. I know you got to hear a few of them at Grandparents' Day.
Sure did.
Fantastic.
They are. It's a really distinctive, and I appreciate you highlighting that.
Yeah. So, you use the word distinctive. I think our shepherding program, our reading buddies, those both launched in the fall as soon as we could. Those are distinctives for us. And then I think how we structure our classrooms. Our homeroom communities, we use a responsive classroom approach. So we use their principles and practices. Many of our teachers have gone to week-long trainings to better embrace responsive classrooms. So the way that we structure our classes for community purposes, so that social emotional learning component of our classrooms, morning meetings, class meetings, closing circle, how we begin the day and how we close the day, they're very important.
Sure.
And we have, very clear practices on how we do that. And that I think that just adds to what I love when I walk in through the hallways into the classrooms. I see children joyfully learning and being challenged, but they're also doing that in a community environment.
Yeah. So it's not just the individual learner. What I hear you saying is that they're learning among each other, with each other, sometimes from each other.
Yeah.
Wow, that's powerful. Thank you for sharing that. I think that you've hinted at this, but I'd love for you to hear in your words and your perspective about what you're seeing in our lower school teachers.
Yeah, and it is so fun. It's one of my important elements of my role is onboarding and supporting new teachers to PCA, meeting with them every couple of weeks in a one-on-one environment, but also working with our team leaders and all of our faculty. And so I think, first of all, our educators are called to be here. They look at this as not only a professional opportunity, but a ministry and a calling. So I think our teachers they're set apart because they care and they have such strong, deep knowledge of the students that they teach each and every day. They have a professional commitment to learning and to collaborating together. So most parents wouldn't see this, but one of the things that I think we're trying to continue to build in our culture is that collaboration, the collegiality, where teachers will actually work and go into each other's classrooms to observe, to learn from each other, right? So especially if you're new to the PCA culture, what a blessing to be able to go and observe Alicia DiTomaso teach a Bible class, right? Or watch our blended learning math rotations in Shanna Ketchum's math class. Yeah. So we learn from each other. We're open to that. We're open to problem solving together. And so I think that's just that professional commitment to collaborating. Our team leaders in primary and elementary, they all work together, and they actually lead a lot of the faculty meetings throughout the year with each other.
Yeah, I think you and I have talked a lot about, growth mindset for our students.
Absolutely.
But what I think I hear you saying is that the teachers themselves, individually, as teams, grade levels, they model that themselves amongst themselves.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that growth mindset.
Yeah, and they're always looking for ways to challenge themselves as learners. So many teachers in the last few years have gone through different literacy trainings that have been offered through either the state of New Hampshire or even privately, webinars to help us better understand teaching best practices, research strategies or research-based strategies for engaging, challenging students who need challenge, differentiating based on learning style or academic readiness. These are all conversations that we have.
Yeah.
And I know it's one of my biggest blessings is to just really get to encourage and support the teachers.
Yeah, you folks, you may not know, but one of the things that Dr. Abood does is she, with a team on the professional development side, really oversees and shepherds professional development, and not just what they do, but this culture that you hear talking behind it. And it's across the school, but
Absolutely.
Carrie, I really appreciate you highlight that among your own teachers. Anything else you want to share about these amazing teachers? I heard calling. I heard they're just professionally, great teams growing.
Yeah, no, I think that is it. But I love working with the teachers, and I know they love working here at PCA and feel really called to be a part of the lives of their children, their students.
Yeah, I think that. Just to emphasize that I see when I walk around and I hear you and Daphne talk about it, is that each of the teachers are really keyed in on their students individually as classrooms, really how to help them grow. And it's really, they're fully committed to that spiritually and academically. And so maybe on that, spiritual side, how are you seeing the lower school highlights on where spiritual growth is coming forward?
Yeah. And so I'll go back to kind of what we were talking about at the beginning. A highlight for me is just seeing the whole lower school community really engage and connect with our core value focus, which is compassionate community. So our chapel programs, whether they've been led by me or you at the beginning of the year, or our students and our teachers who are planning, they're very focused this year on this idea of kindness and what it means to love and to serve and to be a part of a community that really believes in service and love. Our definition of compassionate community as a core value is service and love in action. And so we're seeing that. Yeah. And I love, like, Mrs. Stevens, shout out to her. She took compassionate community and the whole first semester or first quarter, their art projects in all of our lower school classrooms was to design hands and hearts, and this idea of I see an opportunity to be kind.
Right.
I act through that kindness and that compassion. And then, they've created these art projects that were displayed by Grandparents' Day. So they were able to go down and look at these. And so it's embracing that spiritual component of love and kindness and compassion that I think has been a real highlight for me in seeing students. One of the encouragements I would have for parents is, on each of the peak of the week peaks of the week for your individual classrooms. On that top left corner, there's learning objectives, and there should be some learning standards of what students are talking about in their Bible class.
Right.
And so I would just really encourage parents to look at those and ask your children questions about what they're learning through their Bible curriculum, through their time in chapel. I know that's one of our core subject areas. It is not. It is right there.
This is not bolt on.
No, it is. It is who we are, and something we do each and every day.
Yeah, I had forgotten about that, and I really appreciate in partnering with moms and dads that you're and the teachers are helping tee up some great table or car driving conversation, and so this really to extend that and integrate that learning spiritually.
Absolutely.
We're a Christian school, so there's an academic side to this as well. How do you see just academic growth taking off for the school year across these grades? Yeah,
absolutely. So I think a couple of areas that we have really looked at on the academic side is taking, so we do have a fall NEWA assessment for grades 1 through 5. We also, for our younger grades, do a DIBELS benchmark assessment, which is in literacy specifically, and just understanding, do students know the bits and pieces of how to read?
Right.
And whereas NEWA really tells us a little bit more about reading comprehension.
Okay.
So taking those assessments and really looking at those from our teaching faculty and deciding, how does this impact our curriculum, our teaching moving forward? So I know academically, we use that information to make sure our math groupings are appropriate. We make sure that our students are being challenged and at that very next level of learning with math. I know that we've also really been focusing this year, but also last year too, is how are our students doing with the basics of writing?
Right.
Everything from forming letters,
right,
because that is a piece of it, learning cursive, adding that, and then also taking things like our third graders learn super sentences right now. That's a big thing in third grade, which is basically taking a word and developing a sentence using all the different parts of speech and or parts of writing a sentence. And it's hard.
Sure.
It's challenging. Yeah. It's something that they're working on. And then just taking that writing focus all the way and how are we doing research-based writing? How are we writing narratives, reading a piece of nonfiction or reading a piece of fiction, and then being able to answer questions through, answering it with text evidence. I think those are all academic areas where we continue to see strength and positive growth for our students, but we want to continue to focus on those areas.
Yeah, I appreciate, that calling attention to things we've talked about. I know you've been working on it. We saw a few years ago a real focus on math growth, and we saw that take off in such a positive way with great consistency across the grades. And then I hear even on the reading and writing.
Absolutely.
And seeing that. And I'm glad you're getting to see that bear out. Moms, dads, I hope you're seeing that too. And just knowing that I'm so encouraged to hear that while we go to a technological world, that handwriting is such a personal and important part of who they are and how they express themselves. So thanks for sharing that. We know that your students are growing from kindergarten through fifth grade. There are a lot of transitions going through that. Would you highlight what you're seeing and as you prepare kids for big transitions?
Yeah, I think the one that probably I have the most focus on right now is our fifth grade class.
Okay.
How are we already shaping and preparing them for that next level of learning, which is middle school for us? And so they, the start of the school year, they're just like everyone else, like relearning the routines of school, connecting with their teacher, building that classroom community. And then I think our teachers are doing a really great job, especially in fifth grade. They provide opportunities for a little more independent learning, opportunities for students. They are needing to document expectations for themselves as far as homework and their agendas. So it's a little bit more of a student focus there. We have a rotation in fifth grade called executive skills or executive functions, where students are learning different ways to take notes, to organize their learning. They're also learning about their own learning style, which that will come, I think, more as the year goes on. But, what is it that I might need as a learner, as a fifth grader, to be successful in the future? And how might that be unique to me? And then, of course, we do modify our expectations for our fifth graders just a little bit to help prepare them for what the expectations are for middle school. So asking for timeliness and work being submitted, using our not turned in notification a little bit more in Veracross. And then, of course, giving them more and more opportunities to lead. So I told you a second ago about like the student representative piece. That came from three fifth graders who said, we really want a chance to do something where there are student voices. And so we've come up with this idea, and it's really all based on fifth graders wanting to lead and help, where now we're going to have 20 third, fourth, and fifth graders who are going to be meeting monthly to talk about, what's going on at recess? How can we problem solve situations? What are some service opportunities? How can we make this school even better?
Yeah.
That's what they said.
So
like, we just want to make it better. We want to be helpers.
Amazing.
And we love PCA. We just want to keep making it an awesome place. And so I'm excited for that. And those are all, to me, key aspects of how we're challenging and pushing and helping our fifth graders grow into the young men and women that God made them to be.
Yeah. Well, I really appreciate the deliberate way you and especially the fifth grade team are really taking this as a sort of a bit of a capstone of what, I think in the classical model, which we're patterned after. We're not technically a classical school, but as they transition from grammar into logic stage, there are also some real skills that will help them prepare for that, that you're starting to, that early transition, helping them lead well, because we know that when they, Lois was just talking about, the eighth graders being so tall, the sixth graders generally shorter, smaller, doing high fives. I mean, they're going to feel smaller again and younger again. And yet there's this wonderful consolidation that happens at fifth grade. And you guys really help them spiritually, academically, and practically, and leadership-wise, relationally get ready for that transition. Is so exciting to hear. I just wanted to close, if we could, just what you are most grateful for so far this year, of so many things you've listed, but just take us home.
Yeah, I would say I am, grateful for the teachers, for their dedication, for their prayerfulness, just for their desire to build classroom cultures and classroom communities that are warm, joyful, appropriately challenging, just that environment that each teacher creates, whether it be a homeroom classroom, an enrichment classroom. I'm very grateful for that. I'm grateful that I get to watch children walk in the door each and every morning, happy to be here. I know that students are, as the days get colder and the days get shorter as far as the sunlight, it can get more challenging, but their smiles and their joy that I see on their faces when they're in the hallways, or, I get lots of hugs, and I'm very grateful for that. I'm thankful as a parent. I'm thankful that I get to be a part of this time with my own two children who are here in lower school and middle school, soon to be two middle schoolers. I'll blink and I will have a sixth grader. And so very, very grateful that I get to be both parent and principal at this school.
Wow. Thank you so much, Carrie. Thank you. These, stories really, in my mind and my heart, really reflect the beauty of what we see going on in the lower school. Christ-centered, strong academics that really is broad, right? In all the subject areas, the joy in the classrooms through those teachers, the way you talked about how the teachers form those communities, and especially seeing that confidence grow. And so, lower school families, thank you for entrusting us with your child. We hope you get a sense of seeing how God is growing their hearts, minds, and friendships. So let me close in prayer, if I could. Father, I thank you for these children, Carrie and I both do, and for the teachers who shepherd them with such wisdom and joy. May you strengthen our PCA families in the season of gratitude. May you give them rest and peace and moments of connection and joy this Thanksgiving season. And may you continue to form this generation of young people, these children, to love you and seek truth with courage and humility. Amen.
Amen.